Hi, guys.
Hey!
Hello. We're here.
There we are.
Trying to do a lot of putting things into the chat here, but there, I got it all done. And let's see who's hanging out. We'll probably have a few minutes here where people start watching.
I was trying to figure out who
what?
Who's here?
I'm here.
I mean, really, we're barely here. So.
Oh, I'm here.
I just got here.
Yeah. So good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Rachael Blaske, and I'm very excited to have you guys joining us to learn about microgame publishing. We had interest in going to deeper detail after we presented a panel overview at GenCon Online that we wanted to do a little bit of a deep dive on every single part of the process for you guys. And there is Kyle this morning, and Allison's here. So Laszlo, Dr. Korossy is our esteemed and beloved moderator who will now
Can we just call him Dr. Laszlo? I really like Dr. Laszlo. I like Dr. Laszlo. Dr.
Oh,
what?
but I should probably explain to people, if you're watching on YouTube, please like the video and hit the subscribe button so that you can see the future panels that we're going to do, because we're doing this once a month. And if you prefer Facebook Live, click the 3 dots up in the upper right-hand corner, and then you can choose to be notified when I go live, which... and then lastly, if you're on Twitch...
It'll make us all feel really good if you do, too.
Yes, and if you click the heart on Twitch, then you'll know when I live stream there. Rachael Blaske.
And if you're on PayPal, send $20.
All right, I'm done. My spiel is done. Take over, Laszlo.
Oh, sorry. I was stretching.
You were so bored. You were already bored.
Goal. No, you see what I did there? Stretch. Goal.
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
Is that today I'm going to kickstart the discussion of our campaign to highlight the world of microgames.
I'm out.
Hey Caesar, let's go do our own live stream.
Guys, I'm just trying to make a pledge to the listeners.
This is great. I love it.
I'm trying to make a pledge to the listeners.
Puns are wonderful.
Well, I'm out of them, so I'm going to get started.
No, you're not. You got more. I'm sure of it.
I'll figure some out.
Don't sell yourself short.
They might be micro puns, though.
Ooh, you did it. See,
I did it.
You had one more.
I did it. I funded. So
you should add on a couple more.
Oh no! Stop!
I'm not trying to manage that.
I'm dropping my pledge.
Jason's like, why did I sign up for this? I'm regretting all my choices.
I am so excited to be here today, as always, because I get to talk to some of the titans of the board game industry, or at least the titans who matter to me. Because guess what? Microgames are awesome. And whatever game you're playing right now, it would be better if it was smaller. So today we are going to be talking about Kickstarter, as my puns introduced. And there are literally hundreds of articles, not to mention books, about how to run a Kickstarter campaign and what are the advantages and the difficulties of running a Kickstarter campaign. So that's what I want to talk to you about today. I want to ask you a totally different question than that, actually. Drop that question entirely. What I want to ask you about is, what are the challenges or opportunities you anticipate and plan for when you're launching a Kickstarter specifically for a micro game? So not, I want to launch, a come on zombie apocalypse mature audiences game for $2 million. What are the challenges and opportunities of launching a really tiny game?
Jason and I were just talking about this, actually, and it's actually the problem or benefits that lots of people are ordering lots of multiple things at once. And we had challenges like that with Tinderblocks and Kitten. And I'm sure Jason has innumerable, even worse ones, because he's got so many more micro games than we do. So that's a huge challenge, because you've got to figure out the logistics behind it and the time and stuff like that. So it's great that we can offer these games at pocket prices, but the logistics of putting them all together is a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah, that's a big one because, I was just going to comment that if a Kickstarter backer would normally spend like $40, it might be 4 different games that, you have to collate and assemble and everything like that. That normal backer price, the average backer price is, I'd say it's probably around, for me, like $25, which means it's not just that single game. It's a group of different things, which is definitely a complexity issue.
That's true. I think that one of the challenges that I see with it is the fact that we are such low price point that it ends up being so much more involvement and engagement we need from micro game players, because we have so much more to get to that goal. I mean, if somebody's got a $50 game, they're going to get to whatever goal it is faster. However, it is usually a higher goal, but like $10,000 for a micro game is going to be a lot of backers to get to that. And that's something that is just unique to our area.
Yeah, there's a value equation with a micro game or a pocket game that is different than a big board game. And when you're running a Kickstarter and you need to get a certain amount, every backer is a multiplier of your pledge amount. And when our pledge amounts are so small, we need a lot more backers. We need a lot more people to show interest and to be into whatever the thing is, or we have to provide a lot of value in that small box in order for them to go, yes, I want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So set a lower funding goal, right?
Sure. Yeah, you can set a lower funding goal, and then you have to make sure that your campaign's going to be healthy if it only funds just over that goal.
Mm-hmm.
Another exclusive problem for microgames is the shipping is a higher percentage of the cost of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And for international, for us, for example, it's more than the game. So explaining that and then accounting for that, where a large chunk of your $10,000 funding goal is going to the postal service. It's a definite different proportion than a larger game.
How do you account for that then? What strategies do you have for that?
For me, it's offer everything we can to make sure people aren't buying a single game and paying more for shipping. So for us, it's bundles. For international, it's print and play and things like that. Just giving a ton of options, but also expecting that a third of our funding is going to the post office.
Man, and so many people are upset when you are giving them a $10 game. And then they're like, it's going to cost, how dare you try and make, this shipping cost $6 when I'm only buying $10. Why would I do that? And I'm like, because
you guys in the States are really unlucky because until Trump increased the United States postal charges, it was actually really, really cheap for us to send small games internationally, actually, from the UK. And actually, it still is. So we don't have the same kind of challenges that you guys have for the small games, particularly if the depth is kind of like a big thing here, but the depth is, I think, 25 millimeters, which
from what I
obviously covers button shy, right?
I understand that you guys have a second first class rate. Is that correct? Like
yeah, we have so in the UK for games under 2 kilograms, which obviously covers all our micro games, we have very, very competitive rates, particularly if they're thin as well. So and that's to UK and Europe, and to a lesser extent internationally. So
we just go letter to package, and there's $12 in between.
Yeah, which is huge. And you guys are more than welcome to come and talk to me about if there's something possible here in the UK to
I've already sent you a meeting invite for us to chat about.
Yeah,
for real though, no, that's really
criminal, and I think it's something to do with the International Postal Union, that you guys just are at the upper echelons of having to pay a lot more, or charge more. So I don't know why the UK is different in that regard. Maybe it's just because we're so much closer to Europe that we can put those prices down.
So what I'm hearing is that if you want to launch a micro game, be a European.
It's certainly sound. I mean, I don't know what the exact prices are in the United States, but it sounds very expensive compared to what we can do, basically.
Would it be enough to adopt a British accent?
Oh,
please no.
Because you can try your Aussie accent.
I can do that. I can do that quite well.
No, you can't. But
shipping is a big challenge. Like you said, it's a third of the goal, and that is about right. So,
and Jason, I understand that if you're encouraging people to bundle to save on shipping, then that just ups the complexity right there.
It does, and it's I mean, we're meeting them halfway. They save some money. We gain some complexity issues.
So we the only Kickstarter we've run that I could say is for a micro game so far. We have one coming up in January, but until then, the Anoka Kickstarter, we subsidize shipping for most of that campaign. International backers, of course, we couldn't completely subsidize it. But within the U.S., I think the game was $9 in free shipping in the U.S. And of course, that cut into margin, right? Like that makes it much more difficult. But that's also also thinking of Kickstarter as more than just a marketplace, but also as a marketing engine, and making sure that you can get all those people to pay attention to your product and to your universe you're creating, or your experience you're creating, and having a way for them to, doing something so that they do get it in their hands, which, that's the end goal when you run a campaign like that, is you want to get that game in as many people's hands as possible. But I'm with Jason. Our next one, it's bundling, right? We're going to have multiple games in the same thing, and we're going to, give you a good value reason for your money to not just get 1 or 2 games, but to get all 3 games we're going to have in that series.
Yeah.
And when you subsidize, the thing about, you have a $60 game, you can afford to lose $2-3, and it's not a problem. If you lose $2-3 on 9, you can't go into you can't even on Kickstarter. I don't think you can do 50 cents or anything, but that would be considerably better than losing another $1. But on a microgame, that's going to make a huge difference.
The margins do get that tight on microgames, where it's I want to, I think I mentioned this in the last one, but we were talking about what components we're going to go into one of the games that we're working on. And as we started to shore up that product design, we're sticking as much as we can in there to get it to the limit of what we feel comfortable paying for the raw materials and the production and the shipping, and still provide you a game at $10-12 a piece.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot more work.
Yes.
It's that old thing, I would have wrote you a shorter note, but I didn't have enough time. Editing takes time. Tweaking takes time.
True.
Is there anything that's easier or that's better about running a microgame Kickstarter versus a traditionally sized one?
I just had something in my head. I don't remember.
I mean, they're easier to handle from that perspective because they're lighter. There's fewer pallets if you're ordering from China.
Yeah, we got our retail release shipment in for New Year's Eve, and it takes up one pallet.
I can't think of anything specifically on Kickstarter that makes it easier. That's like
that's
production, design,
that's
all
next
that.
month.
No.
That's next month.
There's so many little shortcuts and stuff, but Kickstarter, you have to pretend like you're as big as the other games. Like Kickstarter.
That's what it was. I think that we are the impulse buy. We have a CMON up on Kickstarter and people are like, oh, look at this. And then I wonder what else is out there. And then it's just I just spent, $300 on Frosthaven or something. Why not just do $10 here? And because this sounds cool. And then I can take it with me because can't do that with these other huge games.
Yeah, we actually have, I got this last, so the benefit is that we have the shortcut of not needing as much reviews and other support in the media because it's more of an impulse buy. So you don't need to spend as much time and as much effort convincing people because it's not as hard of a purchase. You have to, convince them and all, and but you can take a few steps back on that just because of that price point.
Unless you're an international backer, and then it's shipping.
Yes. Which is where the bundles become very important.
I would argue that's where a relationship comes in, because a lot of international backers that we have, I mean, I can't be friends with everybody, but if you reach out to all those people and you establish yourself in those communities, they're much more likely to spend the extra to be a part of your brand.
That worked for us recently. Is on Agropolis, there was a Kickstarter, a Board Game Geek thread that said, not backing price too high. And it was, I believe, like 17 euros or whatever it was after shipping. Mm-hmm. And the relationship worked out in our favor because I didn't even have to go in and explain the issues. All of our European customers did, and explained how they don't usually get these taxes and VAT charge and stuff like that just because of the small size and costs and everything. But they jumped into that thread, and I barely had to do it just because we have that relationship with the customer. Oh,
and the other thing is we slide under the VAT stuff, the threshold typically, whereas most other ones don't.
Us too. There's a big fear that it's not going to from a lot of new customers, but it's hard to
because isn't it $19 €19 is like the VAT threshold or something like that, or it was at one point?
I think the Netherlands I think is the big one that gets hit real hard and might be lower than others. So I think they do vary, and I think even post office practices vary where some are big on it and some let it slip through.
It depends on the countries a lot. Each one has their own threshold. I think in the UK it's £15, which is basically $20.
Yeah.
But the main issue is that some customs officials will question whether it's actually worth more than has been stated, and then they'll either open it or they'll slap on a charge anyway. How
do you handle that, Caesar? When that happens, what do you do?
Well,
does the customer contact you? Do you find out about it?
Well, the customer usually I'm sure Jason's had it, depending on how he's done it in the past, but usually a customer will just tell you, hey, I got hit by a VAT or customs charge. And sometimes we just go, well, we didn't promise customs friendly, but we're happy to meet you halfway. Sometimes we just pay it. Yeah. I mean, it really depends on the situation, how much is charged. And also because each country varies, they're not only charging you the customs or import duty, they're also charging you a final delivery charge. So for instance, here in the UK, if we get, typically it's things from the US that we order that we can't get here in the UK, and people will buy the games from the US, bring them here, but they'll be charged the import fee of whatever it is, 20% of the declared value. And then on top of that, the shipping value. And then on top of that, there's another, it's usually, I think, £8 or £10 as a sort of handling fee.
Yeah.
Man, we just want to make games, people.
Yeah. And that's why it's so beautiful to send stuff to the US, because there is nothing like that. The customs value is $800.
That's all right. We have our own problems.
Yeah,
I could imagine
that's another micro panel, right?
I could imagine buying $800 worth of certain microgames.
Even then, I think the $800, you know, the import fee in the US is no more than 5% or whatever the state taxes or whatever. So it's not too bad.
Jason, you mentioned offering a PNP option.
Yes.
And it strikes me that that's way easier or more attractive to the customer to do a PNP of, say, Sprawlopolis than it is to do a PNP of Frosthaven.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that goes hand in hand with microgames, is that it's, you know, ours are, because we do them full bleed, they're like 9 pages, including the rules. But really, if they don't have card backs that are unique or anything, it could be as little as 2 pages for the 18 cards. Yeah, but I'm all about PNP. It's not great for everybody. You know, it requires a crafty type or somebody who has access to, and I don't know if, you know, the Game Crafter is wonderful here, and, you know, you could send your PNP there to get printed, and companies like that. I don't know that each country has something as easy as that. I know that there's printers everywhere and things like that, but print and play for small games is huge for us. I don't know about the rest of you, but we do really well with print and play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do pretty good. Obviously, you can't recreate a tin, but lots of people have lots of different, you know, small containers, and it's pretty easy to get little bits and things like that. So I feel like that's a great marketing opportunity, because a lot of people who will make the print and play will then back the product too.
We have print and plays available for some of our games. I don't think all of our games, but in general, I really enjoy product design and making a product and crafting what is that box and what is that experience and how does it come out of it and what happens. So I think for us, like, they're part of it, but I don't know. I really focus on, like, what is the package you're going to get? Like, what is the production value? What's it going to make you feel? How is it going to feel when you open it up? Are you going to be pleasantly surprised, or are you going to be like, oh yeah, this is just the thing I bought?
To think about all the backers that can get it in print and play and then experience that same feeling of creating it themselves.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I'm sort of a interloper in a PNP community on Facebook, and it's like they will spend more making a PNP copy of a game than if they bought at retail, just because they enjoy crafting it.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a question for the group. Laszlo, I know, Doctor, can I ask a question?
You may.
Somebody taking over the moderation.
Dr. Laz is what I'm going for.
Dr. Laz?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. I will only refer to you as that from now on then.
Excellent.
All right, so Dr. Laz, if I may be so, forward to ask the rest of the panelists, shipping and Kickstarter or in Pledge Manager? What are your feelings? This is a
How
thing.
Is this even a question?
It keeps moving. I feel like it keeps moving.
I don't know. Do you want to pay 5% of the shipping on top of that, or? So
No. But I also want backers to have the smoothest experience they can, and to feel like they're getting this thing in the easiest way they possibly can.
Then
and sometimes that's shipping part of it. Sometimes it's shipping Pledge Manager. And public opinion matters. Like that, what backers think matters.
Well, then you've got to increase your price on Kickstarter to be able to deal with that, because you can't subsidize the whole thing and be in a good business that's going to continue. At this point, I'm really happy with the fact that public opinion has moved more towards doing shipping in a Pledge Manager for the most part.
I agree.
You can also, there are certain Pledge Managers that will not charge for shipping. Like they won't take a cut off of the shipping itself. They only take a cut off of any additional add-ons that are purchased. And so when you've got those options in a Pledge Manager, it seems like there's a perfect situation there.
I'm like the worst person for this because I am as anti-pledge manager as it can get. As a consumer and a publisher, I just don't like having to go to a third party for anything.
So are you moving to GameFound then? Like, are you?
I am cursing out GameFound. No. GameFound. Wait, GameFound is the one that's all in one, right? It's a system.
They got the whole thing together.
While it's great for more of them, they have like such a small crowd to start with. It's going to be really difficult. But the one thing that you lose with a pledge manager is, for us, if it's like a third of our funding, it appears that you don't have as much funding, and it's harder to hit goals. And
yes,
if a chunk of that money isn't shown on Kickstarter, while everybody here knows that it's just going to shipping, there is a weird perception of it that you look like you're funding lesser because it's not showing on the site. And I don't want to go on and on about why I hate pledge managers so much, but for shipping afterwards, and it's wonderful because prices are going to go up. Like the post office is going to raise prices, and I'm going to be stuck eating whatever percentage they raise them by because I'm not using that pledge manager to charge shipping later. So that is the big downside of charging shipping in Kickstarter. Another one is we have so much money tied up in shipping that for tax purposes to claim and everything that's being charged now, and we're not going to ship something till next year. You've got your taxes get all funky because you're holding on to this money that's just going to the post office anyway. So that is a great benefit to charging later.
Right.
Jason, you're talking about perceptions and funding. I mean, there's also the perception. I mean, if you have someone pledge $10 for a game and then that's all they know until after the campaign ends and the pledge manager opens, I mean, that helps too, right? That it seems like you're pledging for less.
Well, I don't know. The thing is, nobody reads anything, right? So there's going to be a chunk of people who are going to be mad when they're charged later for shipping because they didn't read anything. I mean, so many people, I get so many questions that are just sitting on our campaign pages in a huge section that has the answer as a header. So I don't know. I feel like it's great because you're only paying the $10 and everything else, but I feel like there are going to be a portion of people just completely blindsided by it. I don't know. I don't know. As a consumer, though, I just hate any extra transactions and any extra sites to log into and all that kind of stuff.
I think as our companies have grown and we can offer previous products, pledge managers are, in my opinion, are sort of a necessity. That's my personal view. It does have its pros and cons, as Jason says. For us, our biggest con was the fact that it's great that loads of people have been ordering from our back catalog, and I think about 10 to 20% have ordered something else. But on the downside, you have this extra logistical complexity of, well, someone's just ordered 2 of our micro games, but then they ordered 2 huge games. And then you have to think of the shipping complexity there. And it's kind of like, do we send it as a bundle? Do we send it as... So now, when we finally closed our pledge managers and the fulfillment's coming up in a couple of months' time for 3 Kickstarters all at once, we now have to do this extra complex spreadsheet where some people who ordered this many stuff and has to be broken down into this, and then English people can get it all into one, but Europeans have to maybe get it in 2. So you have this complexity just to make sure that it's cost efficient. But in terms of upselling or whatever, pledge managers are kind of a necessity because some people don't even realize that you've done XYZ in the past, and they're like, oh well, this game is similar to that game, so I might as well get it all in one, and then the shipping is... So from a consumer point of view, I was anti-pledge manager for the same reasons that Jason was. But from a back catalog and upselling point of view, and from a consumer point of view, it kind of makes sense. And now people understand, especially if you're a Kickstarter,
standard.
Pledge, it's pretty standard. No one that I know of anyway, even though I don't touch the customer service side that much side of things, has complained about what Jason has sort of mentioned. But I can imagine that if you're a new person, and we have had new people not really understanding it that well, what a pledge manager does. So yeah, it adds extra customer service complexity there, which takes up time, and it's obviously more money.
Right.
So,
And
we had a campaign where we noticed that first-time backers, first-time users were trending higher than we expected. And we made a point in our communications to say, hey, if you're new to Kickstarter and how this works, here's what you need to know. There's going to be a pledge manager afterwards, and you're going to go to it, and you're going to be able to choose all your add-ons. It's like it's just having a store, and you got a credit there. So
our thing came up yesterday was that we need something that says we don't use a pledge manager. Like so many people expect it that they back for $1. Like we need to get that out there for the majority of Kickstarter regulars.
Yeah. Jason, does that maybe suggest to you that consumer expectations differ from your own preferences? That maybe at this point,
because we do everything the Pledge Manager does, but just on our own. So we just here's the way to get the games on our website from now through the time we ship and how you attach them to your order. So we do the benefit of it. The only thing we don't do is the shipping charges. Which we could, but we have the same logistical nightmare of merging two spreadsheets together that we would have with a pledge manager. So we sort of do the same thing, but the difference for us and those is ours are optional. It's if you want to buy more, you can go through this side process. If you want to just get the regular game and nothing else, it's all right on Kickstarter and easy enough.
From a subjective point of view like that, and this is just my opinion, when we used to offer that option, the sales were far less, if I'm being honest.
Really?
The ease of doing it through the pledge manager rather than having to click through onto your website and faff around and make another order, it just ups the sale rate by, I don't know, maybe double or triple actually.
Well, it's because it's part of the process. They have to, like, the way that a pledge manager is set up is that it will confirm all your information, and then they're like, hey, these are the add-ons, scroll past and click skip if you don't want them. And that amount of time in front of their eyes is enough to go, I wonder what that is. And I could say, I mean, if we have a Kickstarter, I can historically we've made 2/3 of the amount of the Kickstarter in the pledge manager after. And that, of course, includes some shipping, but a lot of add-ons.
The thing I'll say is if I back a campaign, once I back your campaign, I'm usually done. Like, I don't look at it again, right? I'm like, oh, I already made the decision. I'm in. Great. At some point, I'll have to confirm my shipping address, and then I'll care again. But hey, I'm getting your thing. Moving on. As soon as there's a pledge manager, this is one more touch point where I have to click in there. I have to confirm my address. I have to confirm what I actually wanted. And then at that point, I would say at least 50% of the time when I'm in the pledge manager, I will see something else that catches my eye. I will see some little add-on. I'll see some other game you made. I'll see something else and go, it's only $10 more. It's only $20 more. Sure. Yeah, I'll add that on. I got to pay for shipping anyway. And it's so anti to the way that I thought when we first started, where I was like, no, I want them to do everything here. I don't want them to go anywhere else. I want them to, just get my thing and then move forward. But I will say that upsell opportunity, it works on me. So I'm sure it works on other people.
It has to. The thing that's invaluable to me about having people come to our website instead of a pledge manager is it's their first introduction to our website, which is where we want to sell games. It's the only place we sell games other than Kickstarter. So, we're uniquely not.
I don't think there's a wrong way. By the way, I don't think there's a wrong way to do it. I think that you've got a path and it works and it's doing what you want to do. Then great.
Right. Absolutely.
I would say that it's always worth, we've done 11 or 12 Kickstarters now, maybe 13, and obviously Jason's done similar amount, if not more, isn't it, Jason? Right? But
how many?
You've done later, or more. But what I would say is that every Kickstarter we've experimented with something. So with the Microgames, we experimented with a referral scheme.
That's fun.
Yeah, and we also experimented with our first pledge manager. How would that work? And then like comparing. So I'm a scientist. I come from a science background, so I like to compare oranges with oranges, but with a slight twist, and then just seeing what happens. So
Jason has done 45 Kickstarters.
There we go. So
45.
You nut.
That's amazing.
Jason, actually, I would like to follow up from our question last month, where we went over, the development of Twin Stars and the planning of it and all that. And I know that Twin Stars was sort of a weird Kickstarter for you because the game had been released already in parts, or at least the first one had been. But I was hoping that we could sort of follow up on that and keep getting the sort of Jason Tagmire story, as it were. Could you walk us through either that campaign or a different one from preparation all the way up to funding?
For the original SARS Kickstarter, the first one,
whichever you think, any campaign that you think would be a good lesson.
These open-ended questions, I'm so terrible at. What specifically about the process do you want to know? What can I? Because from beginning to end is months of various things. Yeah.
I mean, when you made the decision, yes, this is going to go to Kickstarter, at that point, what did you have to do? What was your process of saying, you know what, yes, I want to fund this game on Kickstarter.
So
now
it's pretty much the same on every game because ours are the same size game. Everything's the same. So we have a formula down where 60 days before the Kickstarter launches, it has to be with reviewers. If you can't get it in within that 60 days, there's certain people who are just unable to commit to it. So it's basically a timeline of art needs to be done 4 months ahead, design needs to be done 6 months ahead, development needs to be done 4 months ahead. It has to go to reviewers with 2 months time. And then probably the last month of it is starting to, get everything ready for the Kickstarter page, which is, videos, graphics, any sort of instructional material, making sure the Board Game Geek pages are up and things like that. So there's a ton of that like administrative Kickstarter prep that is required on every campaign. And it's basically just a formula. We just copy the last campaign and fill in the blanks on the new one, which I think originally was we just copied someone else's campaign and filled in the blanks like years and years ago. It was just like, oh, everybody's got this formula of here's how to play, here's your stretch goals, here's your add-ons, here's your all your purchase options. It's very much the same on every game. So I don't know that there's a unique experience other than just the race to get things to everybody who's helping out with, reviewers, anyone doing video, anyone doing a podcast, any of that like media hype that's going to surround it.
One of the things I think is a little easier with a micro game versus other games is that with other games, you have a lot more assets. You have a lot more things that you need to show on that page. So you do have at least for me, I feel the freedom of, if I need to change this a little bit before I finally release it, if I need to tweak the layout of these cards, if I need to tweak some text on something, it's not as detrimental to do that last minute with a micro game as it is to do that last minute with a larger game. There's a lot more machinations and a lot more things to worry about with a larger game, a lot more pieces to put on that page. And with a micro game, it's much more straightforward. Now that also makes it harder to sell because it can be hard for people to go like, oh, is this really worth it? But hopefully the low price point and all the value is what makes the difference.
Well, it also strikes me that many of you are launching your micro games in series. I mean, there's the Mint games, there's the Pocket. Sorry, Adam. What was your
Quarks?
Quarks. Yes. Caesar,
Quarks, season 1.
Season 1. I'm so excited. I mean, there's the wallet games. I mean, so there is an opportunity for a lot of templating going on, as opposed to, if you're releasing a game that's this size and the game that's this size and a game that's this size, like a more traditional publisher might possibly.
Well, Kickstarter backers love a good set. They want everything to match and look pretty, and they're a gotta catch 'em all kind of group. And so
you can even say board gamers.
We like set collection.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I mean, it's its own metagame. So there you go. The more that you can make everything look pretty together, and they realize they don't have one, then because can you imagine having one of the Mint series like just missing, like not even like the newest one, like if you had like one missing in the middle, like I think that the people that are set collectors would like, I don't know, like they're one of their like head would explode. I don't know.
You've made me sad. Just the thought of it is oh, that's
Don't cry.
somewhere out there. There's a Mint game missing its friends.
I'm gonna do a new series. I'm just gonna skip number like 3 in it, and everyone's gonna be like, "What happened to number 3?" There is no number 3.
That is
And then-
horrifying.
Yes.
That's even a horrifying suggestion, Adam. Rachel, I hope you can just like cut that from the final.
Oh yeah, because this is
Quarks-
totally edited.
Quarks season 1 will be Quarks 1, Quarks 2, and Quarks 7.
Yes, and then like the next year you have to release 4 and 5 and 6.
Exactly,
And
right? Yeah, that's
everyone will buy it.
Yeah, of course. Maybe not.
So let me get to the hot button issue here.
Oh
Ooh.
boy.
Stretch goals.
Eh.
Right? Are they not the absolute best thing in the world? I mean, as a creator especially, don't you just like love thinking, how can I add more production cost to each item without charging more for them and do it on the fly?
Nobody does.
Oh,
it on
no,
the
we
fly.
don't do it on the fly.
No.
There is no on the flyness.
Has everyone here done it on the fly? Because
Yeah, my first campaign. My first campaign, I did it on the fly.
Yeah.
It was real dumb. Never doing that again.
That was McDump pants right
That
there.
was big dumb pants right there.
Yeah.
But obviously, I mean, if you've got like a game with 900 minis, then even adding a mini or two isn't going to be a big deal.
No.
But
no,
if
and they
you've
accounted for that when they set up the campaign.
right,
Yeah.
Yes.
but
That's
if you're
the- that's the
releasing a
thing with
game
stretch goals, that's the thing with stretch goals. Like they are pre-planned. They have to be
They're just
pre-planned.
yeah.
In some campaigns, they are. I swear they are parts of the game that should have been in the game to begin with, and they went, "Oh, we're gonna trim it out and we're gonna use it as a stretch goal."
That's what makes me mad.
That makes me
Here's
mad too.
something that makes me mad about stretch goals is when they do like it's a company that always releases a high quality card, for example, and they say, at this much we're going to make it linen finish, and it's like you're an established company who's never released a game without linen finish. That's totally just a joke. Like,
Yes.
you wouldn't release it without linen finish if you didn't reach. You would never do that and make. And it's part of a series that everything has linen finish. Like it just never happens.
No.
So those are silly to me.
Our
Yeah.
next campaign does not have any stretch goals. It has none, 0, and it's a 20-day campaign.
Oh,
But
Like,
when
what
I
you,
go on,
you get, like, you're getting a lot of value, and here's what you get. And we're not going to play games with this. It's just this is what you're getting.
but when I go on Kickstarter and I see the comments, half of them are, "Hey, what are the stretch goals?" And even when you go up front and you say there aren't going to be any stretch goals, people say, "Hey, I think you should really add a stretch goal because I know better how to run your business than you do."
I think that's dropped a lot.
And they're
we used
excited.
to see that a lot, but I think ours have gone down to 1 or 2 of those comments a campaign.
because you set an expectation.
Yeah, it's been 2 years of saying we don't offer stretch goals. But we give you a bunch of free stuff that would have been stretch goals. We just are honest about it. It's just included up front.
Right.
But the thing specifically about microgames is that we're working from a product size first. So we have a limit. We're not going to lower that limit just to falsely add stuff later. Like our packaging has a limit, and usually we're making the game with that limit in mind from the beginning.
Yeah, I think it's much more forgiving for Button Shy than maybe it is for
I'm
the
sure.
rest of us, because you have a format. It's 18 cards. It's in a wallet. That's what it is. Maybe there's some other stuff you could get with it, but really, there's not a lot of room to stretch it.
Yeah, if we made them 16 and said, "Oh, these 2 cards are stretch goals,"
Can you
it would be
imagine?
so dumb.
No, in the past we've done things like planned a card, but then let the community name it, or things like that I guess are stretch goals. But this time we're doing social goals, like more experience type things for the Poketto collection that are like Spotify playlist, or like so they're adding to the experience, or being able to connect relationally with somebody else at the company. But there's a lot of different ways to do it, and so many people have gone in different directions with it. I don't know. Yeah.
My theory on it is give them free stuff. That
See,
tends to
my
be
theory on
theory.
it is is reward the artists
Give you
and designers via stretch goal. Like,
Oh,
you know,
what do you think?
And the consumers will hate it. They will absolutely hate it, and they've historically hated it. But like, if we reach this much money, I am, you know, raising the designer's percentage, or giving them, you know, a bonus of this, or giving the artist this.
You're a genius.
Yeah, it's just like, that's what it should be. It's, I mean, why are you backing us for us to give back to you? Like, it doesn't make any sense for us to load the money that you're paying into more stuff. Why not use it for some benefit of, you know, growing the company, the brand, the creators, the designers, the artists, and all that? Like, to me, it's so backwards for you to give us money and we just toss more stuff in.
Jason Tagmire is a revolutionary thinker, people.
Right.
But
I try.
See, and my theory on that is that what really matters to me is that this game gets in the hands of as many people that may like it or may want it, and that as many people as possible can get a copy of the game, because every single copy of the game that's out in the wild is another opportunity, another touch point for somebody else to fall in love with the product, fall in love with the company, fall in love with the concept. So
more free stuff doesn't change that, and like helping the designers out more doesn't change that, because it's still the same goal here. It's just if we get more money than we asked for, we're gonna put it into the way of making better things in the future instead of just giving you more junk. You know, that's my approach on it. It's very, you know, backers will hate it. They will. There was one where what was it? The Fireball Island was. If they hit $5 million or something, they bought the developer a truck and branded it with Fireball Island, if I'm remembering correctly, and people just hated it. And it was like, you know, it was out there. It was definitely...
That's so sad.
We've done a stretch goal before where I thought that people were going to like, I think it was translucent dice or something, and it was genuinely more expensive. And then we said, hey, the stretch goal is translucent dice. And then literally the whole Kickstarter exploded. I'm not kidding. And people were like, I like translucent dice. And other people were like, no, we want opaque dice.
That is interesting when it changes. Like, you know, it's not like it's not specifically an upgrade, right? It's slightly different. People are going to be real frustrated.
Yeah, so after that, we became a little bit more modest with our stretch goals. And that is a modest change, but more modest in terms of, you know, touching angry points or whatever. So, yeah.
My favorite stretch goal we've ever done is we did a cat meeple for Arch Ravels. It was the final stretch goal. The campaign was very, very funded. It was trending to fund to that level anyway. The game did not need a cat meeple in order to functionally work, but man, it's so satisfying to pick that meeple up and put it in somebody's bowl.
The one along the lines. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it added a little bit to the experience of it without really adding much to the cost at all. But it feels like it's special.
The one that I wanted to do was, if we hit a certain level, we're going to buy a whole bunch of like banners and convention material that we normally can't do for a game by itself. So we were going to like brand a whole booth based on that game if it hit certain levels. But it just, to the customer, it's like, what does it do for me?
Yeah.
And it's nothing, yes. But it helps it helps next time you come to us, we're going to have better products just because of that. Like, I don't know. It's
Nobody's
silly.
forward thinking like that. They're like,
no,
I want it. Give it to me and give me extra things.
Yeah.
Well, hey, and you know what? As a consumer, I'm not dissimilar to that anyway. You know,
Right.
if Pandasaurus just ran their dual dino game Kickstarter that just ended, and it did amazing. And the Dinosaur Island series is wonderful. And you know, in that one, I think they did a fantastic job of crafting that campaign. Yeah. Of crafting that campaign and crafting like, here's how we're going to make this feel like more or feel like there's progression. And I think that's really the secret there, is that without stretch goals, you still need something to feel like it is progressing to the end user. That's really what stretch goals are good at doing. It's a carrot for somebody to back something. Sure. Carrot for them to feel like they're getting more out of their money, but also it's just so you need to have news. You need to have something to talk about during the campaign.
So we don't do any updates during the campaign anymore, like almost zero, and have shortened the campaigns to, you know, they're 11 days. So like there's nothing to talk about.
Real short. Yeah.
You have nothing to say.
Yeah.
It's just, so it is really bizarre, but like, there's just nothing to update. Like, you're buying the games, here's the games. If we didn't put it on the main page, then we made errors to begin with. So there's just a couple thank yous, and here's questions that have come up.
So
but it is
Jason,
really weird with no stretch goals.
Did you just say that you just made over $100,000 in 11 days on Kickstarter?
Yeah, 193 or something.
Wow,
it's crazy. And
well done.
It was the follow. Thank you. It was the follow up to Sprawlopolis, which did 107,000. So we expected this to do well, but I don't even know if I expected to do as well as Sprawlopolis, because the expansion and it's new territory for us. But Sprawlopolis had stretch goals. That's the difference too. Is like I was like, that's what drove Sprawlopolis to $100,000.
But here's the thing,
and we got rid of them.
You did a stretch goal for Agropolis. You just didn't call it a stretch.
No, it wasn't. So yeah, it was the complete opposite of a stretch goal.
Exactly. You announced free stuff.
We were giving free stuff.
In your previous campaigns, you've done free expansions. Adam,
we did that here too. Yeah.
Yeah, Adam, you're saying, your goal is to get the product into as many people's hands as possible. I mean, is there, just to be devil's advocate here, I mean, Kyle in the comments is saying he's more likely to back a Kickstarter with stretch goals than not, and to up his reward to reach those stretch goals. I mean, isn't there an argument for, announcing the expansion mid-campaign and tossing it on as a stretch goal, even knowing that it will fund there just to increase the funding and get into more people's hands? Like
it used to be, here's our stretch goal, go tell the world about it, that you're backing this game, and help us spread the word. And I think that's just gone. That's not really a thing anymore. So that's definitely what used to be. For us, it was just like, we're going to subvert all stretch goal things, give you the free stuff, and gain none of the marketing off of it. And then, in fact, we even said, can anybody help pitch in $1 or $2 to help pay for these cards? So it was just the complete opposite of a stretch goal. And then somebody paid $50 extra for the cards that we gave away for free, which was amazing. But yeah, it was stretch goal with no marketing. It was free cards with none of that good stuff you get out of it, and it worked out really nice for us. I don't know. I wouldn't suggest it though. It's weird. Just those two cards
it's unusual too. And once again, this is showing the kind of different space in the market that Bud and Shy occupies than say maybe some of the rest of us do. Is you've got a really strong following and a strong brand name, and you've got a presence. So when you launch something and you say, hey, it's 11 days, we don't have any stretch goals, and here's what it is. There's more of a quick one. More people already know who you are, so you don't need the extra eyeballs or the extra second look that is needed from that marketing communication of, look, there's a new stretch goal, there's a new thing.
Years of work, like years.
You've earned your right to run campaigns that are 11 days and no stretch goals.
It's a long time, and it was really scary dropping stretch goals when we first did. But it's just, now I would never ever go back unless it's something. Unless it's something weird where, like, we're going to give you more. Like, we did a reprint campaign where every $2,500 we added a game. So it was technically stretch goals, but it wasn't the same, the same in any way.
And to point out in the comments, Michelle says, she's opposite of Kyle. She won't back to help reach a stretch goal that is important to the game, but rather wait to back until it's already confirmed as being included. So I guess there's a back.
Yeah, and we want people there as early as possible, because that's how Kickstarter gets more people.
If there's one thing that anybody out there wants to do to help their favorite Kickstarter creators, back day one. Just back day one. Like, if you know you're going to get it, just get it day one, because it helps us so much.
Mm-hmm. And I'm so guilty of waiting till the very end because I'm just too busy. I know how important it is. It's so important for the Kickstarter metrics and everything to kick in.
Yeah.
So there is one question in the comments I want to get to. Kyle, how easy is it for a new designer or someone who wants to start a board game company to start through Kickstarter? I feel like it's
much harder nowadays than it was even a few years ago.
Go for it, Caesar. Teach the boy.
I started it 4 years ago, and back then it was relatively difficult. But luckily there were loads of blogs out there that would teach you how to get up there and whatnot. But nowadays, Kickstarter it's still there for the little guys who want to start up. And I've seen campaigns who have done well either in their first or second. But ultimately, you need the capital and the brand and the marketing and a product, importantly, and you have to tick so many boxes that it's actually become very difficult. And in fact, if you enjoy designing games, then you should only stick to designing games and get a publisher to publish your game, because it's likely that if you enjoy designing games, you're unlikely to enjoy the publishing side and vice versa. So I enjoy publishing games because I love project management, and I've done it for like years anyway, through science and things and doing my own mini projects. But I don't like designing games because I'm not that good a designer, and I get frustrated very easily with it. So, but nowadays, I'm not saying you can't do it, but it is very difficult, despite the fact that, yes, there's lots of information out there about how well to do. And I have seen games that looked good, and they look like a good product, and it looked like something a consumer would buy, but it just hasn't worked because they just fail to reach that last 10-20% of the final ticks, and you need every single box to be ticked for your first campaign to work financially well.
Right.
Yeah, and I would say that so the question of how easy is it for a new designer, anything worth doing is not necessarily easy. That is not the way that you should measure it. However, if you want to start a board game company, I honestly don't know that I have an idea of how you would start one in the year 2020 without using crowdfunding.
Yeah, I think Kickstarter's a requirement.
It's not necessarily easy. There's a lot of work that goes into it, but
it's really hard if you don't use Kickstarter.
Yeah, it's really hard.
Yeah, and I taught a Kickstarter workshop recently that was like, I gave a timeline of how to get involved and where, and starting like it's like a year. You have to jump into the community and start realizing what everybody is interested in, and finding your niche and doing all of these things. But specifically, I talked about burnout and how if you are a designer, because think about how many more designs you could be making in the time, the life cycle of what you are trying to publish at the same time. And
that's the thing we talk about regularly at XYZ is like the right person for the job should do the job.
Yes. So if you are a publisher type of personality, like the project manager, like Caesar, like, yes, hook up with a designer that is going to, be able to feed that part. And just when you try to do something that you are not made to do, it just can be so much more difficult than it needs to be, that burnout is almost certain to occur. And you had a very, very short time in the industry.
That's why Jason has a staff of 20 people, right?
Lord, Jason is just the exception to every rule.
I want to call out somebody in the comments who asked a question really early, kidsplaining, and they've been participating as well. There was a question really early: are manufacturer expenses primarily lower? There you go. Thank you, Rachel.
No.
I've seen Kickstarters all over the place with price funding goals. So I want to start this one, and then I want you guys to please weigh in. But the expense to manufacture the game is cheaper because it is smaller and there are less components. However, the percentage of it as a margin may not be any different. And in fact, you may have more of your margin eaten by this small box game than you would a large box game, simply by the fact that we have a size and a form factor that we're trying to hit. We have a price point that is a cap, because you're only going to pay so much for a, how did you put it, Rachel? A impulse purchase, right? Yes. You're only going to spend so much. So yeah, they are lower. As far as all over the place with price funding goals, I mean, don't get me started with how people do their price funding goals. Yeah. There's campaigns that will artificially be low just so they hit that, we funded on day one. There's campaigns that will put in everything they think they need, and then they end up not funding because it looks like the campaign's unhealthy when really they could have gone with a lower goal and been fine. So what you set your funding goal at is a whole different conversation, but manufacturing expenses for these they are lower, but they can be a larger percentage of the overall margin.
Yeah, that's right.
And we'll be even going into that super, super deeply next month.
What's next month's topic? I don't read ahead, obviously.
Microgames.
What?
Really?
I'm out.
Actually, I'm out.
Jason, I'm done.
Yes, we're actually going to be doing part 3 of 5 on manufacturing Saturday, November 21st. Same time, same place. So
We need to get Laszlo in that image.
I know.
Yeah.
We need like a starburst of Laszlo in the corner going like, "Hey guys, talk about stuff."
Well, he can take my spot. It's all good.
Thank you so much, everyone. Kidsplaining, we are going to get to that comment in a month. But
Absolutely.
thanks, Rachel, Caesar, Adam, Jason, me. Thanks,
Yeah.
me.
Thank you,
This was-
Dr. Laz.
You are quite welcome, Adam.
Oh my goodness. So we actually have the link up already on our YouTube. I got to pull it up. I am a slacker and don't have this ready, but we
Real quick, Kyle, is it possible to include the shipping in the reward margins, then add shipping later? I don't know that I completely understand that question, but
I believe it's up price to include the shipping. So instead of 10, you make it 13 or something, which we've done. The problem is backers are going to see it at 10 later and think that you're charging less. That's the biggest issue I had with that. You can't lower your price below the Kickstarter one, but everybody doesn't look through the nuance and see that it included shipping in Kickstarter.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm dropping in the comments right. Wait, nope. That's not what I meant to do.
That's the old thing.
I hit the wrong button, and now I got to figure out how to close it. There we go. Here.
Nope.
Nope.
Dang it. Here, this is what I'm going to do. How's that?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, just put it everywhere and then just choose one.
Yes. So here we go. This is going to be what next month's is. You can click on it, set a reminder. I thank you again to all of our guests. I am loving all the passion of our microgame moderator. And I just really appreciate everybody giving me a little bit of their Saturday. So if anybody wants to follow any of the guests on the panel, our outro will show all the thousands of ways that you can get a hold of us. And until next time, everybody say bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Right.